Hello, everyone. Living in a world where mental health is largely spoken about, today we at Icy Tales is in conversation with Dr. Aditi Hinge, who is a psychiatrist and a person who spreads a lot of awareness about mental health. So, hi, ma'am, how are you doing?
Yeah, hello, hi. I'm doing great. What about you?
Yes, ma'am, perfectly fine. Thank you so much for doing this with us in spite of all your busy schedules, and I'm really excited to see how this interview goes forward.
Yeah, same here. I'm glad to.
Great. So let's get started with the first question. Speaking of mental health, what exactly do you think is the importance of mental health in today's world?
Um, in today's world, I think actually mental health has been important since a long time. It's just that now in the today's world, we are paying more attention to it.
Right.
It has always been important. It's just that the awareness is more, acceptance is a little more than before. So people are paying more attention to it. And obviously, given the fact that now more than ever, the lifestyles are very stressful, the working environments are very stressful, it's very important that people look into their own mental health, just like they pay attention to their physical health.
I like how you mentioned all those, setbacks. But speaking of all that, why exactly did you choose to be a psychiatrist?
So actually, initially, like when I had to choose my specialty, I was not very sure about which specialty I wanted to do, but I was very keen in psychiatry because I found the subject very interesting,
Mhm.
and the fact that it had such a vast area of coverage, like it includes a lot of things and it impacts our life in a lot of ways. So I was very much interested in the field, and when I went through with my selections and my rounds, so I got selected in psychiatry, and that's how it started. So I was very lucky to get into it.
Very nice to hear that, ma'am. And in your previous answer, you stated so much about how people are going into a stressful lifestyle. So, in your opinion, how do you think people should deal with stress?
So actually, there are a lot of ways we can look at it. Stress in today's lifestyle is more compared to earlier, but there are various reasons for it. So, number one, the stress is usually because of the things that we have created, like the work stress, family stress, taking up a lot of work, setting up unrealistic expectations. So, we have to first understand why are we stressed, trying to understand the triggers and what is the reason why we are stressed, and if it's possible, try to reduce that, try to cut down the stress from the source. If you are setting a lot of unrealistic goals, and also within a very short period of time, you are definitely going to be stressed. The main reason when stress usually happens is when you have a goal and you don't reach it, that leads to frustration. So the first thing is reassess your goals, try to set realistic goals, whatever it is. Suppose it is something related to work, then give yourself a timeline, give yourself a deadline which you're able to achieve, plus give yourself, like, make a plan, proper plan to achieve it. And if it's say something related to your physical health, so if you want to say be a certain way, then give yourself a timeline which is possible to achieve. Don't set very very high goals. Having said that, another thing, like, if like being in stress is not a very bad thing. Stress can also be good. You need some amount of push to achieve what you want, right? So understand which, like, what is the amount, what is working for you, what is not working for you. When you start seeing that the stress affects your life in a way, like you feel low, you don't feel energetic in working, you have sleeping issues,
Mhm.
that's when you need to focus on, okay, what can I do to reduce the stress. Other way or some ways in which you can cope with some stress is, number one, you can plan the day accordingly. You can plan the day, plan your tasks accordingly. Two, you have to balance between your work life and your personal life. You need to give some time to yourself.
Mhm.
Give yourself some time to relax, some time to unwind. Do the things that you like to do. Any leisure activity, any hobbies that you have, give
Mhm.
yourself some time, say half an hour a day, give yourself, or half an hour or 1 hour in a week is also okay. then spend time with your family members, definitely have a good lifestyle, in the sense like a good physical exercise routine, a good routine where you practice regular meditation or mindfulness exercises. That also helps in a very good way to cope with our day-to-day stresses, and breathing exercises. So these are some of the ways where you can cope with stress.
I think this is a major thing that I need because I also find it very hard to balance many things together. So I'm really going to have positive takeaways from this. Moving on to my next question. What are the major things you have learned while being a psychiatrist?
Okay, so the number one thing that I have learned is empathy. Having empathy for your clients, for your patients, and empathy for the things that people are going through. That was the first thing. The second thing I have learned is having an unconditional positive regard for the person in front of you. And secondly, not being judgmental. Not being judgmental. And definitely that is what the profession teaches us, that you do not judge the person and accept them the way they are and try to help them in the best possible way.
Right. Very nicely said, ma'am. We'll have a lot of takeaways from this. Speaking of all this, coming to one of the most important points was mental health during the lockdown. So, what is your opinion on mental health during the lockdown, and how did you help in creating awareness?
Yeah, so definitely during the lockdown, a lot of people suffered, and rather, people who are already suffering from mental health issues, they have worsened. So the way to look at it is, while I was already working in a hospital, COVID hospital, I was working there as a psychiatrist, and that time I did meet a lot of people who were admitted there, COVID positive, and were dealing with a lot of issues. And another way that I tried to help was we were asked to train undergrad students, MBBS students, interns, and even nurses working in COVID hospitals so that they could identify any early signs of stress, any early signs of depression or anxiety that could happen while they were while they were treating the patients of COVID. And at the time, I had a personal Instagram account. So in there, I tried to make some post where in which I posted ways to deal with stress, ways to identify some depressive symptoms or anxiety symptoms. And now I have a public account, but that time I was just doing things in my private account and trying to increase the awareness by talking to more and more people as and when I could.
Mhm. It's really nice to see you doing things for the public, and very nice to see all that happening. Moving on to something which is fun. Can you tell us the best and worst part about being a psychiatrist?
Um, the best part is definitely that I get to help a lot of people. And also, I think this is a profession in which I can also help myself. So learning about psychiatry and learning about the ways, although I am obviously not 100% good at it, I try to incorporate the ways that that I teach others. So that is one good thing, that I can help in a lot of ways. And like I said, psychiatry is involved not just in just say major illnesses such as depression, anxiety, certain psychotic illnesses such as schizophrenia and bipolar, but then we can also help with very basic things such as difficulty in work, difficulty with your career, time management, stress management. So it has a very large scope. So that is, I think, one of the best things about psychiatry. Coming to the worst thing, so I feel not just in the just psychiatry. So a lot of mental health professionals, psychiatrists, psychologists, they suffer a lot of burnout that happens when we sometimes tend to forget to have that difference in the personal and professional life. If you say carry the you deal with so many patients, you talk to so many patients, you listen to so many histories, and they talk to you about their trauma, they talk to you about their stressors, and having heard that and taking that burden home, that can sometimes cause a burnout. So we need to identify, to cut ourselves from the professional life so that we can be content in our own private life. So that can sometimes be difficult. I wouldn't say it's the worst part. There are ways to deal with it. But that, having said that, that's a minor drawback, you can say.
Like you said, this profession taught you many things. So how exactly do you deal with your personal insecurities?
So personal insecurities is, for example, like sometimes the way that I deal with them is I try to journal, I try to write down my thoughts as much as possible and assess them sometimes. And like I tell my patients to analyze your thoughts, to understand why certain thoughts are coming and why you're having these stresses. I try to do that at times. Sometimes I succeed, sometimes I don't. Then I try to incorporate activities such as meditation in my day-to-day activities. I don't succeed every day, but I try. And with insecurities is like you have to understand why they are coming. Like, what is it that is causing these insecurities?
Right.
Is it something that you're not performing good at? Can you deal with it in some way? And the main reason usually for stress is we try to control things that are not in our control. So that is very important to understand. So I try to reflect, okay, is this something that I can control? Then if I can, then I try to find out ways to deal with it. And if it's something that I cannot control, then I try to consciously let it go and not overthink about it, like not dwell into it much and just let it pass and see what are the other things that I can control to be able to deal with it better. I
Right.
hope that made sense.
Yes, it did. And since you have to deal with so many patients, like you said, how exactly do you make patients feel comfortable to share their problems and discuss it with you?
So it obviously starts with having a good therapeutic relationship with every single patient. So initially, the initial sessions is just getting comfortable with them, letting them get comfortable with us, and I just talk about them, their personal life, whatever, just not mainly around the problem. We usually start the interview by just asking them about how they are, what do they do, what is their working patterns. If they want to talk, then about their family. So just basically try to be friendly and try to make them comfortable while they will come to us for the first time. That's the time when the anxiety is like they're most anxious. So we just try to show them that we are just here to talk to you, and whatever it is that they want to say, it's a safe space. Then obviously the main thing is that we reveal it to them that this is a confidential interview and none of this information will go out if you don't wish to. So try to gain the trust of the patient, and that usually happens. And then eventually we talk about the main issue and the problem that they're facing.
Since your work mostly revolves around instilling positivity in people, what tips do you have for people around to be positive and happy always?
Yeah, so I wouldn't really say be positive always, because that's not possible. Again, that's like an unrealistic goal. You cannot really be positive always. So I try to tell them that you have to understand that all emotions are valid, be it positive, be it negative. So positive emotions of happiness, love, they are valid, and the negative emotions such as anger, sadness, guilt, they are equally valid. Uh, they just don't come without any reason. There is something that's making you upset. There is something that's making you angry. So the emotion is not bad. The way we deal with the emotions, sometimes those ways can be maladapted. So you have to understand that, okay, you spend some time with the emotion and you see how that's affecting you. Develop healthy coping strategies to cope with these negative emotions in a good way. If you are feeling sad, then what are the reasons? What can you do about it? If you are feeling angry, how can you manage the anger and not let that become into a physical or verbal aggression? That is what I try to teach them. It's not that you have to completely let go of the negative things. You will have negative emotions. You have to try to manage them in a healthy way.
Very rightly said, ma'am. And moving on to the last question, which is, I think, very, very important. There are a lot of stigmas about mental health, and people wrongly associate with it sometimes. So, what is something that you want to tell people to bust their myth, or anything else you want to add on?
Yeah, definitely. So there is a lot of stigma. Now, it is the acceptance has increased, but not entirely. So the first thing is be have empathy, accept and be accepting towards people who are trying to trying to come out with their mental health issues. If somebody tells you that they are feeling low, they're feeling depressed, or they're feeling anxious, don't belittle their emotions. Don't be like, okay, no, you are just overreacting, or this is not real, or your problems are not real. That is something which mainly causes the like they lock themselves up and do not open again. Because before coming to a doctor, they will definitely try and open up to somebody who's close to them. So if they face rejection there, it's very difficult that they'll actually, take another step to talk to a doctor. It will rather be delayed by another few months or few years. You never know. So be accepting. Don't belittle their emotions. Be kind as possible. And yeah, so another thing, but one more thing is about the major stigma that I have faced is about medications. So it's not that everybody is put on medications, but when somebody is not able to deal with the issues at hand in a healthy way, and that's really affecting their mental health and also their physical health, that is when we prescribe medications. So medications are also equally important in healthy recovery of the patients. So a lot of pill shaming and medication shaming happens, which is definitely not needed. If you are not a psychiatrist or somebody who is, capable of giving that advice, you should definitely not tell anybody to stop the medications. Right. It should always be done under the guidance of a doctor, because a doctor will gradually taper off your medications and help you. If somehow the medication is not suiting you, there is definitely always a way. So yeah, these are the things.
I am sure all those people who are watching this will really know so many things that we didn't know, because I myself did not know so many things. And thank you so much for educating me on the same. Uh,
Thank you for having me here.
this brings us to the end of the interview. Thank you so much for doing this with us, ma'am. I really had fun doing this, and I hope you also did.
Yes, I did too. It was really good. Your questions were very nice. I had a very nice time interacting with you.